AC3 video blog DNA series where we talk about the fundamental building blocks of what makes Allen Creek Community Church, core values, doctrines, these sorts of things. And today we're going to talk about one that really sits at the heart of things, and that's what would be in many settings a paradox, right?
Yeah.
That as a church, we are committed to maintaining doctrinal purity and cultural relevance. Describe those two things and why they might conflict, Pastor Rick.
Well, maybe it should go without saying that a church should hang on to doctrinal purity, which just means that we're going to hang on to the historic, revealed truths of the Christian faith. And once you've let go of those, you don't have Christianity. And so we're saying, when we say we're going to be a church that values doctrinal purity, that we're not going to be a church that's going to either consciously or unconsciously let slide those basic truths that make up historic, orthodox, biblical Christianity.
Can you give me, like, real quickly, like 3 examples of things that would fall in that category?
Well, for example, that we might give up on seeing the Bible as a central authority figure in the life of the believer, as being the representation of those core revealed truths. We might give up on the divinity of Christ or the uniqueness of Christ. We might want to give up or slide on some of those things that historically where the church has actually found moments for compromise. Because they're either uncomfortable, they're in contradiction to cultural values that are currently popular, that sort of thing. The exclusivity of the faith is one that probably right now is just deeply unpopular.
Right, so the idea of, there are many ways to God and they're all equally true. An Orthodox historical Christian stand would be, no, we believe this is the exclusive way.
Yeah.
That Jesus is the way. And so to hold to that would be an example of doctrinal purity.
Yeah, it's good. A good example.
So, well, you mentioned now in contrast to the culture. So talk about cultural relevance. What does that mean?
Well, so when we say we all want to simultaneously value cultural relevance, that we want to be a church that does not isolate itself from culture, and that is both communicating in ways that people who are born and immersed in the culture, and the culture includes everything, Dan. It's like your language, it's your art forms, it's your social patterns and systems. All that's part of the culture.
Good, bad, and indifferent.
Sometimes it's perfectly amoral. Sometimes the way culture forms itself has problems with it, kind of inherent problems. But that who we are baked in a culture is going to be for us, we didn't want to isolate ourselves from it. Because what the church can do is isolate and create its own subculture inside of the culture. To some extent it should, because it's going to live by Jesus' values. That's got to be different.
That's Orthodox Christianity.
That's Orthodox Christianity. We're back to that. But that doing that to a fault can mean that we are in the world and separate from the world entirely.
Jesus said to be in the world but not of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we have to figure out a way to exist inside this culture, whatever culture we find ourselves in, but at the same time we recognize we don't draw our value system from that culture. Right. Would that be another way to say it?
Yeah. Like, I guess I think some people would say, look, if you're going to be doctrinally pure, you're going to be culturally relevant. I agree that there's something to that. That part of being holding to the historic truths of Christianity means you're going to be invading culture with the message of Christ in a winsome, respectful, gentle way.
Because again, that's doctrinal.
Yeah, because that's doctrinal purity. But I think some Christian communities can convince themselves that they're being doctrinally pure while isolating themselves from culture. So we very consciously put the two things together to say that we were not going to value one and let go of the other, or value that one and then let go of the first.
So it's kind of a paradox or a both and.
It's a
Sometimes
both and.
We talk about it as rather than either, well, you're either going to be open to outsiders and culturally relevant, or you can really be biblical.
Yeah.
And what we say is, no, we think God's bigger than that.
Yeah.
And we think he's called us to a both and, but it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, what are some of the challenges that come along with trying to do that?
Well,